What's up, y'all? We're back. Back on a Wednesday. Like I've been saying, if you've been listening to the show, and if you missed any, follow on Twitch, follow on YouTube. But I said I'll be switching up the schedule a little bit, so we're back on Wednesday. I'm thinking for now, I'm going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But if you can't catch them live on twitch.tv/MikeTheMush, then you can go right to YouTube. I'm thinking about doing them live on YouTube also, so it goes right up there. I don't know. I got some decisions to make. My schedule's been a little wonky. It's the holiday season, starting a new job, but I want to keep things going, so I'm trying to find something that fits. I know I definitely want to do Monday and Friday if I can, especially during football season, and then throw in one midweek just to catch up on some random stuff like we're going to do today. Steph Curry broke the three-point record. COVID is ravaging all the sports leagues. I want to talk about that a little bit. I don't want to beat a horse to death, but or any animal to death. That's just horrible. But I definitely want to talk about it, and this seems like a good time to do it midweek. So I want to start with the Cardinals and Rams because we left off there Monday. We talked about that on Monday's show, and then we made the pick of the Cardinals. That didn't really work out. I have a couple notes. I do have picks for tonight and for tomorrow. So I have a Thursday night pick. I won't do a full preview on that. It's going to be a quicker show during the midweek, I think. It depends on the topic, I guess. And maybe we'll shift to doing some weekend stuff too. I don't know. So stay tuned. Hit the notification bell on Twitch and YouTube so you know when I'm live. So you can always go follow. Follow at MikeMush Sports on Twitter and Instagram. You'll have info there. Everything's posted there afterwards also in case you miss it. You never really miss it. It's always there. Let's jump right in and talk about the football game first. Okay, so the Rams do win, which everyone knows, and I don't want to harp on this too much because it's been a couple days already. I had the Cardinals. I do think that this game was maybe not closer than it seemed. It probably should have been a 7-point game, and Stafford played unbelievable, and so did Kyler, honestly. But there was a weird moment in this game that I thought really shifted things. And it happened about, not here, I guess it was here, the long touchdown? The 52-yard touchdown. This was the sequence to start the third quarter, starting the second half. So it was 13-13 at this time. Stafford throws a wild bomb, and we can watch it if you didn't see it, but should be here somewhere. Rolls out, throws it deep. I mean, they don't show the whole play. This is a radio call of it, I guess. But man, I mean, he loads up from the 40. This was almost as good as Herbert's. This is a Kyler play. This is probably the one. Herbert's was incredible. And we get to see a couple things. This is 3 throws from Mark Schofield, who's a good follow on Twitter, by the way. And you see the play designs, and you see that McVay understands. He's starting to figure out how to get Kupp, Odell Beckham, and Van Jefferson to be a good trio.
We've seen some Kyler magic before in this place, in this direction.
Auto play. You hate it. Really do. And we missed the play, of course. Here's a good view of it, though. And this isn't the touchdown, but this is a perfect way of getting them out all in space to separate really good defenders in the secondary. And you notice how much space he has. All he really needs to do is beat one person because the safety has to play over the top to stop Kupp from dominating them down the field. And Van Jefferson, as you'll later see, if they don't give him attention, he can burn down the field too. Even without Robert Woods, this is a really good trio. And if you have a great play caller like McVay, you should be able to figure this out. So this is the deep one to Van Jefferson. And then you see Kupp come across to get the attention of the safety while Van Jefferson leaks behind him. This is just good play design. And the rollout to the left. So that guy took one step forward. I want to show it again. Right? So let's watch it. Watch this safety back here and watch Kupp cut in front of him, and he takes one step in and then realizes Jefferson's going deep over the top. By then, it's already too late, and Stafford has the arm to get it there. There's the step in, and then he goes out, and he's already burnt. And that's all it takes. That's really all it takes. It was a really good throw. It was a really good play design, and it was just a one-step mistake, or else it could have been batted down, and it wasn't going to be intercepted. It was a perfect throw. He probably catches it either way. but it was definitely interesting to see these kind of plays come together. And I hadn't really been seeing that from the Rams. And I'm wondering if them running the ball better with Sony Michel is opening up some things. Even that step downward can happen on a run too, or a play action. You see the safety step down, and sometimes it's already too late, and they beat them deep. So that is an interesting thing to keep an eye on. And McVay is a great play caller for a reason. And it just hasn't showed with this offense since the first couple of weeks. But then they beat up on the Jaguars, and maybe that unlocked a couple things, confidence-wise and play-calling-wise. But either way, the reason I bring up that long TD pass is because it's 2nd and 8 on their own 27 in a tie game. If the Cardinals get a stop there, if it's an incomplete pass and it's 3rd and 8 and they go 3 and out, everything changes, right? So you have a long... I mean, you don't take credit away from the Rams. I'm just talking about a weird sequence that happened very quick that changed the game. 52-yard touchdown, and then right away, Kyler's intercepted. And then right after that, I believe there was a defensive hold in the red zone. Stafford fumbles. That could have gone wrong, but they recover. And then the penalty in the red zone on 3rd and goal gives them a first down, and then he throws twice to Kupp. You're not going to stop him that many times in the red zone, and it's a touchdown. So these 3 possessions, and then Arizona drives all the way downfield, 11 plays, but they're down 14 early in the game. They decide to go for it on 4th and 2. They could have kicked a field goal to cut it to 11, a 2-score game. They decide not to. I get it. You feel like you're going to have to keep up with this Rams offense that was moving very well at that time. And they just can't get there, and Hopkins can't catch it. And now the news today, just breaking, that Hopkins is going to miss the rest of the regular season with a knee injury. And everything starts to make sense because I picked the Cardinals in this game because Ramsey was out, and I thought Hopkins could really eat. But he hasn't looked right. So you wonder how long he's been dealing with this knee. He's been banged up all year. They gave him time off, and this feels like they're giving him more time off. They know they'll make the playoffs. But he hasn't really had... He's been good in the red zone. He hasn't had huge games. 6 for 83, 4 for 54, 3 for 21, 4 for 67, 6 for 87, 3 for 55, 7 for 53, 2 for 66. He hasn't cracked 83 yards, and that was in week 1. And this is just a weird year for him. Normally, he just blows the doors off of everybody. He's going to finish under 1,000 yards. He's going to finish with 572 yards if he misses the rest of the season. And the yards per reception is still fine, and the touchdowns in the red zone and the catch percentage is still fine. It just feels like he's not being targeted as much. Maybe he's not playing as many snaps. He's been banged up. You wonder what's happening with that. So we'll see how they respond. They have more than enough weapons, and if they get him back for the playoffs, that's great. But this hurts them. There's no question about it. There really isn't. And so, yeah, that was just a rough stretch. It balloons to 14, and then the Cardinals really tried to claw back into it. They do score a touchdown. They hold. They turn it over on downs again, going for it. They were down 10. It's 4th and 1 from the 37. They could have absolutely kicked a 54-yard field goal with Matt Prater there. He has a huge leg. It's in a dome. They could have cut the game to 7 again. I don't know if I would have gone for this just because it's 2 possessions either way. It's not actually helping you if you get the touchdown there very much. I mean, of course it helps, but I just didn't think it was worth it. You should have got it, though. I mean, James Conner was running really well, and he got hurt at the end of this game, too, so we'll see what happens with him. Not great for the Cardinals. So, yeah, I don't love what Cliff Kingsbury did in this. I feel like he got outcoached by McVay, and I probably should have seen that coming more than I did. But it was a pretty close game, and it just didn't go our way. So that happens. What are you going to do? We move on, and we think probably a little more of the Rams and a little less of the Cardinals just because of injury, but they did split the season series, and Kyler looked great. The Hopkins thing is scary. Edmonds still on the IR, and John Connor, the Terminator, and the former fullback for the Jets, James Conner, banged up too. So we'll see if they can. Are they going to limp to the finish again like last year, and they're just too banged up to compete? I don't know. But Stafford looked better in this one. That's really important against a really good defense, and Kupp is truly unstoppable. So we'll see what happens with them. We'll talk Thursday night at the end quickly. It's a great game. Chiefs-Chargers, and it's a hard one to pick, but I do have a lean. Let's quickly talk about Curry. Man, it was cool that he broke the record at the Garden. He has been in a little bit of a slump, actually. So, but there was no... it was nice that he only needed 2, right? Because if he needed 5 and he doesn't get it, it would have felt a little weird. But if you do look at his game log, and I'm not harping on him or anything, it's just an interesting thing. You know, you wouldn't really know it, but he's had a couple games where he hasn't looked super sharp. 3 for 14 from 3. 6 for 17 is just so many attempts if you're not hitting a ton of them. He was good against Orlando, that's one thing. But then he was a little rough shooting against Phoenix. Against San Antonio. He had a tough day against Phoenix, 3 for 14. He had a 1 for 6 in there. I mean, a lot of nights he's still going to light it up, obviously. Even last night he was only 5 for 14. He's shooting a lot of threes. Like, a lot. We'll see how that stacks up to his regular stats in other years. I'll look it up in a minute. But it is cool that he's able to do it at the Garden. It's the mecca of basketball. It was a good crowd. Everyone was excited. They stopped the game for 5 minutes. They praise him. He hugs Ray Allen, who was there. It's all very cool. It just sucks being a Knicks fan. And I could just stop there and turn the show off. But it sucks that everyone comes to the Garden and dominates. And you can't do that if you're on the Knicks. Because what do you expect? You're going to have your best game every single home game? It's just not going to happen. So they have an automatic target on their back because of the building they play in, even though they're not good, which is so annoying. And I thought Curry was going to come in and drop 50 or something. He didn't even play that great. And honestly, the Warriors limped to the finish. They barely pulled away in the fourth quarter. Not that it matters. I mean, talk about the doldrums of the season. Like, it's not even Christmas yet. And some people think this season hasn't even gotten going yet, you know. But yeah, we'll see what happens with this. But it was a cool story. And I want to look up all-time three-pointer list, right? Because I want to get some frame of reference here. Tell me this isn't updated. It is. Okay, good. So he's 4 ahead of Ray now. I was with a bunch of friends watching this game last night, and I was like, how funny would it be if Ray Allen decided, I'm just going to sign a one-day contract with the Knicks, get out there, hit a bunch of threes just so Steph can't do it tonight, which would have been amazing. And Ray can still sit in the corner and stroke him. Trust me, he can. Also, I saw a really funny thing that got sent to me in our group chat today. That most consecutive games with a three-pointer made in the NBA currently. Steph Curry has 152, which is insane. He hasn't not hit a three in over 2 seasons. I mean, of course, when he shoots 15 of them a game, I get it, but that's still wild. But the second longest streak is somehow only 40 games, and it's Lou Dort on the Thunder. Lou against Dort. That is unbelievable, honestly. Because he's an improving shooter. He's not a shooter. He's a great defensive player. I loved him coming out of Arizona State, and he went undrafted, and I made a post about it on some social media back then, whenever it happened, that he is going to be a steal for somebody undrafted. I still can't believe he was undrafted. He's scoring 17 points per game now. And he's a great defensive player, so you can have him be a better Tony Allen, you know, which is crazy and really valuable. So I like him and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I know the Thunder are terrible, but they have 2 building blocks there that can work. You get a really good point guard in there. That's 3 guard-ish type people, but Dort can defend bigger guys. And then you just need a couple bigs, and it's not that crazy that they could turn it around. They have 1 million picks. It could be done. But anyway, yeah, I thought that was ridiculous. Enough of the Lou Dort praise. So Steph Curry has... Let's do a little math, shall we? Let's just go here. It's a little easier. But I do want to compare it to Ray Allen and Reggie Miller. He has total threes 2977. Let's get the calculator out. 2977 divided by how many years? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 seasons. Well, 12.25 divided by 12 point. Yeah, roughly. 240, call it 243 a season. If he plays for, let's just call it 250 just because it's easier to do math. I mean, he's 33. He's going to finish this season, but we won't even, let's just say he hits, I don't know, he's going to have 1,000 more threes. He's going to play for 4 more years, for sure. Probably closer to 1,500. Somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 is how many threes he's going to hit. And you think about it, and I wasn't sure which stance to take on this, because I kind of think one side of me thinks that there is definitely a world. He's only 33. He's still dominating the ball. His usage is as ridiculous as it has been. We can look that up here in a second. Let's see. Usage rate is 32. I mean, it has gone up to 33, and it was 34 last year when they were injured, but still very, very high. There's got to be a world eventually where he ages out of dominating the ball like he does and all of his ball handling and decisiveness for this offense and passing ability and all that kind of stuff. And he can grow into a perfect spot-up shooter. Now, he can't defend, but there's still greatness in his jump shot regardless. And so there's no real reason he couldn't play till he's 40, except he does have ankle issues and some injury concerns, but they haven't been a huge problem for a while. It is kind of rare that he plays full seasons every now and then. But you got to figure he's going to get to at least, so what did we say he was at? 2977? He's going to get to at least 4,000. Between 4,000 and 4,500. And it's hard to compare him to Ray Allen and Reggie Miller because their attempts are just, they're not the same. He already has more attempts than Reggie Miller did in his whole career. And he's going to pass Ray Allen's this season. In all likelihood. Maybe early next season. And so you have to try to compare him to someone else contemporary. We can look at James Harden, I guess. But there's no way. There's no way he catches him. Because he's only a year younger and he's already, I'm not going to say he's past his prime. But scoring-wise, now playing with Durant, it's like he's not going to have that many threes made. And we need to look to someone younger, right? I'm trying to figure out, like, is this record breakable? Can someone pass it? And have we seen that person yet? Probably not. But 3-point attempts per game are going to continue to be sky high. I don't know if people will attempt as much as him. So if we're talking about between 4,000 and 4,500, I want players. Then, and that's including probably, the 4,000 number is like if he retires at 37 or something and doesn't ever become that just spot-up role-playing shooter. The 4,500 is if he has a second act. And so that's one side of me that feels that way. The other side goes, well, I kind of thought that about LeBron too. I thought eventually LeBron's postgame was getting so good when he was in Miami that he could become a role player that can just be an actual power forward and not the point forward and not have to dominate the ball. And he can still score and defend down there and be a little bit of more, not a role player, but a super role player. And that has not happened. And at this point, I don't think that's going to happen for LeBron. And so maybe that just doesn't happen for the greats of the greats. Like Carmelo has become a role player, but he's not an all-time, he's a Hall of Famer, but he's not an all-time Pantheon guy. And usage rate for LeBron has, it's still very high. It's almost 30, and it only ever got as high as 33, and that's pretty much as high as people get, roughly. Luka is probably the highest. I got a lot of things open right now, I understand. Isaiah Todd. I mean, he's played 5 games. Luka's at 35, and that's the highest. Embiid 34, Trey Young. But that's about as good as it gets. And so it never went down with LeBron, and he's already 37. He's already at the point where we were like, oh, maybe he'll turn into a glorified role player in the post and do more of that kind of stuff and learn to hit spot-up threes, which he has, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just wondering if all super elite players, which Curry qualifies as, do they ever really have to adapt? I'm sure there are tons of people that have had to and will have to. But for those two, I'm not sure if it will happen. So it remains to be seen, obviously, but it's interesting to think about. And that will change whether or not Curry gets to 4,000 or 4,500 and injuries matter and all that kind of stuff. I mean, hey, maybe he gets to 5,000. What do I know? Maybe he starts shooting more and better. I mean, I don't doubt that guy. But you look at the totals for Harden, and he's at 2,000. And he's deeper into his career than Curry already. And it's going down. So you look at the rest of the list, and Lillard is already 30, right? And there's just no... They're on the same path as Curry. So I don't see how he would be that much better than Curry and pass him. And who else is really here? Kyle Lowry's too old. Paul George is not going to do it. He doesn't shoot enough. Clay had the injury. And he plays with Steph, so that's just never going to happen, really. And he's 31. And Durant, I think, scores too much in the paint, and he's 33. Kemba Walker's 30th on the all-time list, and the Knicks have everyone out with COVID, and Tom Thibodeau still refused to put him in the game, and they lose. You gotta be kidding me. I can't do this again, but I'm just saying. There's no one else that's like anywhere close that has any chance, right? So we have to look towards future guys, young players. 3-point attempts per game, NBA. Player stats. Buddy Hield, but like, of course not. He doesn't dominate the ball. He doesn't get it enough. He's already 28, which is actually really wild. That he's... Buddy Hield... Oh, he came into the league late. He was a senior. Yeah. He's 28, and Steph is what? 33? They have 5 years between them, and feels like Steph has been in the league for a decade longer. That's bizarre. So Buddy doesn't have a chance to do it. I mean, what are we talking about here? How many threes does he have in his career? 12, 50 something, and he's good. He'll put a dent in the list, but like, he came into the league too late. Probably it needs to be someone with a really long career. Donovan Mitchell is not... I mean, he's averaging that many threes, really? I don't think of him as a 3-point shooter, but he is young. But I think you got to start ripping right from when you join the league. Yeah, he did do that. Okay, so he has a lot. If you go do I have average 3-pointers made per season? I can get there. Where'd my calc go? You guys can see that, right? Yeah. So if he is shooting... Let's say he plays for another... Oh, let's say 12 seasons. And he is averaging 9 attempts per game. I guess attempts don't matter. Let's go to made. 3.2. I mean, look how far ahead Steph is on everybody. You got 5.3. Buddy Hield is second with 3.5. Fred VanVleet we can do. CJ McCollum we can do. But, like, those guys aren't good. They don't have the ball enough. Donovan Mitchell is at least something. So if Donovan Mitchell makes... Let's bump the... Where am I? 3.2. Let's bump it up to... I don't know. Let's bump it up to 4. I don't see how he's going to improve that much, but let's just do it. 4 times 82, if he never misses a game, is 328 made per season, which is not going to happen, but I understand. Times 12 is 39-36 plus. How many does he have? 808. And we're already, I mean, we're past the number that we extrapolated, but I went so far on the high side. That's him never getting hurt. That's him never declining until 37 years old. And that's Steph not getting any better and having longevity. So, like, and he's young. Do we need to go further down? Is there someone else that's younger and a better shooter? I mean, Fred VanVleet, I think, is older than Donovan Mitchell. He's 27. Donovan Mitchell is 25. Just turned 25. So VanVleet is probably out. And I'm not judging the players here. I'm just trying to extrapolate a number that can even possibly get there. And I haven't been able to. So who else is there? Is there someone really young? Lonzo Ball is too old. Well, no. He's probably 25 also. He's 24. But he's not going to have anywhere near the volume. Joe Harris, Grayson Allen, Zach LaVine scores too much in the paint, I think. And he's 26. So Donovan Mitchell has a better chance than he does. Duncan Robinson is a role player. Jason Tatum isn't going to shoot that many threes. Right? He's only 23. But he's not going to shoot that many threes. Not like Steph. I still think Mitchell has a better shot than Tatum. But the numbers wouldn't be any better. Luka, maybe if he develops a really nice jumper, but his jump shot just isn't as good, flat out. He's only 22, but his three-point percentage is 33.1. Curry's is 43.1. So how do you even compare, right? It's like he would have to go 10 percentage points higher for many, many, many years. He's just not as much of a pure shooter. That could change, but I don't think so. What about Trey Young? That's a name that makes sense. He's 23. His percentage is only 35. It should actually be higher. Just no one has the efficiency that Steph does with the volume numbers. But, and Trey is small. I worry about how his game ages. But his attempts could be there with Steph's, maybe. I mean, we're talking about, there's just nobody that compares in attempts per game. Like, I don't know how anyone would get there. Because Trey doesn't shoot as many as you'd think, huh? Yeah, 7 is a lot. But for someone with his usage rate, it's not that much. Maybe Cade Cunningham, because he's so young. But Steph takes twice as many threes as Trey Young. How do you ever catch up unless you start to do that? Darius Garland shoots a lot. That's cool. But I don't know if the numbers make sense for anyone that's in the league right now to catch him unless they're very, very young and can change it. So Trey Young is 23, just turned 23. His attempts would just have to go way, way up, and his efficiency would have to go way up, and he'd still need to play for another 15 years to make it make sense. The Mitchell numbers proved that out. So, someone will beat it eventually, probably. Let's look at Cade Cunningham. Because he just started. And if his attempts are already up there, then maybe. Because he's 20, he just turned 20. And he's attempting 7 per game already. And already shooting at 32. So if he does... We just go from the start of the career, right? If you average 10 threes a game and shoot 40%, then 10 threes a game times 82 is that many attempted, times 0.4 is 328 made per season. So 328, if he plays till he's 35, you're looking at a number that can beat Steph. But he'd need to shoot 40% from 3. on 10 attempts per game for another 15 years. And that's why I don't think the Donovan Mitchells, the Trey Youngs can do it, because they already have 4 years in the bank of not shooting well enough. Which is ridiculous to say, but it's true. Steph Curry doesn't get the ball enough, but he has the great percentage. But look at all these guys, like 40% is a top 50 shooter of all time. And I don't think percentages are necessarily getting better over the years. Just volume is getting higher. So you need a truly elite percentage shooter. Maybe Cade has a chance. Maybe. But Steph shoots it at 43. I mean, his coach shot it at 45. Highest of all time. Good for him. I'm wondering if the player is even in the league. Maybe Cade Cunningham. We keep an eye on that. But the way it looks, this is going to stand until at least, I mean, obviously well beyond Steph's career. But it seems as though it's going to be another 20 years at least before we have someone even trying to tackle it. And Steph is still going strong. And if he goes stronger, who knows if it's ever going to get broken. So I'm not going to say never, because these attempts are getting totally ridiculous now, especially for him. And someone else will follow that suit. But still, someone needs to get into this stratosphere of attempting 13 threes per game, and their coach lets them do that because they're still shooting at 40%. I don't know. Cade is at 7. He needs to double it, and he's only a rookie that's played 15 games. So maybe he can. That's the guy I'd have my eyes on. I don't think LaMelo has a clean enough shot for that kind of thing, although he might have the attempts eventually, because he likes to shoot it. But even he is not as high. Oh, he is. He's right here. Didn't see that. But yeah, he's roughly where Cade is. Similar age. So those guys could jump up. Lou Dort. You never know. But it's going to stand for a long time. I do think someone can get there, because we just did the math, and it's at least possible. It's not like the Cal Ripken record where you're like, the math doesn't check out for this, that they're not going to give anyone a breather day ever again. But this is, it's bordering on a game that is, it's bordering on a record that is discussable to be unbreakable. But I think someone will get there. I just don't know if they're in the league yet. Maybe Bronny James. Who knows? I don't want to talk about COVID, but it needs to be brought up. And nothing about it on the ESPN homepage. Look at that. I'm going to leave this up while I talk about it, because I find that pretty wild that there's nothing here. NFL Player Association re-emphasizes need for daily COVID tests. What did they say about that? Renewed its push amid an unprecedented surge of infections this week among its members. I mean, 75 players returned positive tests Monday and Tuesday, and the rush continued Wednesday around the league. You got to be careful this week with picking games, with betting games potentially. I would do it right before kickoff for all these kind of things, and tip off for basketball too. It's been terrible. The Bulls have had games canceled. I think the Flames in the NHL just had games canceled. And you have to wonder. I know it's getting worse around the country and all. That's very real. We're not going to get into a political stance here about it or anything, or even a scientific one. Although I do think you should get the vaccine, but that's neither here nor there. When it first became ultra serious in 2020 was, I think, when the NBA canceled everything. And then every other league followed suit. And everyone started to go, oh, shit. Well, if they're canceling, this started to get really real for people. It was a signal. And now games are getting canceled when they weren't before. Fans are back, so there's that level of risk. And you just have to wonder why it seemed okay for so long. Now, is it just getting worse and this new variant is bad? Perhaps. But why all of a sudden this week, this insane rush, surge? What happened? And is it going to get worse with the holidays and Christmas and people being together? And the winter always seems to get worse with these kind of things. But it's fishy. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I know people get COVID. But why this group of people having this unprecedented spike now? Are they just telling us now? Did they all get COVID since the games on Sunday? They all played on Sunday. Apparently they're getting tested on Sundays too. No one came back positive. And then on Monday, all of a sudden, it's like, oh crap, entire teams, the Browns' whole team is like gone. There's a lot of teams that are dealing with it. I mean, 75 players, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's like almost 2 rosters. And it's getting worse. And it's every day and it's every league. And I mean, baseball's locked out, so they don't have to deal with it right now, obviously, and they're not in season, but it's just odd. At this pace, the league will have more positive player tests this week than it had for the first 3 months of the regular season. They did pull back testing on vaccinated individuals. Maybe they're going to have to go back to that, and maybe they should or maybe they shouldn't. That's a debate that will rage on because if they're asymptomatic, it's a complicated thing, and I'm not going to get into it. Unvaccinated players are still required to test daily. If they go back to testing daily, you're going to see numbers naturally rise. There's no doubt about it. More tests does mean more positives, which is probably good that they know, I think. But are we going towards another pause? That would stink. If it's necessary, it's necessary. But I only say it's fishy because how does this number happen? More positive player tests this week than the first 3 months. How? Scientifically, there's got to be a statistical anomaly there. It can't just be coincidence. Did they know about things and had them play anyway? That would be a nightmare. Imagine in 20 years we get this wild 30 for 30 if ESPN is still existing. A documentary of them covering up positive tests or something, or not testing people even though they know they might have had symptoms. I'm not saying that's happening. It's just all very, very weird. And in September, NFLPA President J.C. Tretter wrote that daily testing was necessary to minimize the chances of spread within team facilities. On multiple occasions this season, however, NFL Chief Medical Officer Dr. Alan Sills has said that clusters of positive cases among teams were caused by community infection and not from player to player. Sills attributed that theory to the league's genomic sequencing program, which can separate strains of the virus to trace the source. Good for them. The point is, they didn't have all these positive tests for months, and now they do. So what do we do about it? And is it going to go away, or are we going to sweep this under the rug? It's just, you have to acknowledge how weird it is. It's very bizarre. It feels like something is going on that we don't know about, whether it's scientific or not. And this is just players. If you don't test these players, and they do have it, even if they're vaccinated and asymptomatic, they not only might they be passing it to players on other teams and other places, there's tons of staff and fans and stuff that are around them. What about the cafeteria worker that works at the stadium and they are either vaccinated or unvaccinated, but they could get it from a player that's not tested and ended up having it. They go home, they pass it to their grandmother who passes away. And it's like, you can't do this. You're kind of going to have to test them again. If this is the rate that it's happening, you got to go back to the daily testing, and that's going to be a nightmare because people aren't going to be ready. The playoffs are going to be all kinds of screwed up if this happens and if this continues, and you have to wonder what they're going to do. And this is just football. It's happening in basketball, and it's happening in hockey to the point where they're canceling games again. And they're talking about not canceling games this week. Who knows what will happen? We're filming this on Wednesday, and we'll see what happens as we get closer to the weekend if this gets any worse. But man, I felt like I needed to bring it up at least because it's just fishy. It's like, are they just trying to make sure the numbers are more close to real because they realized, like, oh, we're putting on a bad example here, and once people figure out that we're just not testing, so people are spreading it more, we're in deep shit, so maybe we should fix this now and start testing so it doesn't look like we hid this for so long. I don't know if that's tinfoil hatty, but I don't know. I think I mentioned on one of the shows that when I said tinfoil hat, I was going to bring this little guy in. Did I? Or do I need a tinfoil hat? In any case, Frankenstein's here. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I'm no scientist. I just find it very, very alarming, those numbers. I mean, more positives this week than the first 3 months. There's something there. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I do want to talk about Thursday night quickly, but since I named this show Curry and COVID, the CC show, it did make me want to talk about CC Sabathia for a minute. I won't do it for long, but I love CC. Got a great podcast. One of the most underrated Yankees ever, I think. And that Cy Young year that he had was unbelievable. But even better than that was the Milwaukee run he had. Just look at that season. I mean, 2008 game logs. Of course he's a Hall of Famer. But I thought he was great and played such an important leadership role for the Yankees and won a World Series with them. And one of the reasons why those long contracts, if you do hit the World Series, even at the end of it when he was struggling a little more, you can go back to it and be like, yeah, but we paid for the World Series in 2009 and he got us there and he was a horse. And he was a horse for them always. A great horse. Well, it wouldn't be to death. And you look at the game log for 2008, the Cleveland ones are fine, but it's when he went to Milwaukee that was truly ridiculous to me, and it stands out. So I just want to walk down memory lane for a minute. He's home against Colorado. And let's look at that Milwaukee 2008 team for a second. Brewers. Who was on that team? They were 90 and 72. And in the playoffs, they lost in the DS to the Phillies, which Cole Hamels beat them in a good start. And then CC loses. Well, we'll look at that. I'll bring up that box score. But they get beat up by the Phillies. Weird. He carried this team. Oh, Prince Fielder was on this week. Ricky Weeks. Was this a good Ricky Weeks, or when he already became bad, he was hitting 230 and hitting third? Oh, no, this is just in order of position. Okay, I see. J.J. Hardy, but J.J. Hardy he was an Oriole, no? His better years were definitely with the Orioles. No, actually, no. He was really good in Milwaukee. Okay. Stand corrected. Ryan Braun was there, dominating. Mike Cameron was still good at the time. Corey Hart, there's a name I haven't heard of in a while. Bill Hall, I don't even remember. Craig Counsell was on the team. Wow. Gabe Kapler, Russell Branyan. These are names that I didn't think were still really playing. Tony Gwynn. Not that Tony Gwynn. Played for a couple of years, though. Point is, CC carried this team for a while, and you look at the game log, they beat Colorado. He didn't lose, I don't think. Oh, he lost 2 games. He beats Colorado, 6 innings, 2 earned, walks 5, needs a minute to settle in. First home game as a Brewer. Second home game, he goes complete game, 9 innings, 9 Ks, 2 earned. Crush. Absolute horse. 122 pitches. They ran him into the ground here, and he took it. He took it fine. He was okay. He survived this workload, which people wouldn't even do anymore. This is a thing of the past. 3 straight complete games. Look at this. Look at this. July 2008, man. 2 of them on the road at the Giants. 9 innings, 10 strikeouts, no walks, 1 earned. What a start. 110 pitches. Next game, on the road again. Complete game shutout. 7 strikeouts, 2 walks, 106 pitches. The next one, he goes 124 pitches, still almost gets 7 innings. And he didn't even have the whole thing this time. They get a loss. He doesn't take it. He goes 8.1 in the next start at Atlanta. Then he comes home, back home, figures it out, goes complete game shutout. 9 strikeouts, 1 walk, 103 pitches. Look how many pitches he throws. Consistently a ton. It's wild. 7 innings, 1 earned. Another complete game, 9 innings, 2 earned. 6 innings, 1 earned. He only goes 96 pitches. It's like he got a day off. Another complete game after that. 11 strikeouts, 117 pitches. 7 innings, 1 earned. 7 innings, 3 earned. 7 innings, 4 earned. Probably his worst start as a Brewer, literally, at Chicago Cubs. 7 innings, 4 earned, and you take that. And they lose by 1. 5.21 earned. He just labored a little. Some contact, I guess, 105 pitches. And then he gets 7 innings, 11 strikeouts. And then his last start of the regular season against the Cubs, who he quote-unquote struggled against, 7 innings, 4 earned, throws a complete game shutout. What the heck? It wasn't a shutout. It was just an unearned run. But whatever. That run, I don't know how you match it. It stands out in my head as one of the best pitching runs I've ever seen. And I just kind of wanted to point it out. And then you go back to the playoffs, and it's like, how did they lose that game? Let's see. Yeah, 3.25 earned, and he just gets to the playoffs, and he just unravels. How bizarre. And then he makes up for it the following year. This was 2008. The next year, he goes to the Yankees, right? He didn't stay there. It was just a pure rental. And they don't sign him. He dominates as much as possible, gets hit up in the playoffs once, and they don't sign him. The Yankees sign him to a mega deal, and they win. He has a great year, 230 innings. He has 3 unbelievable years, or 4. He was great for them early on. He was great for them later, too. But he was really like Cy Young, top 5 Cy Young in those first 3 years. And they win the World Series in the first year. And he does great for them. And you wonder if this one game scared them from signing him? Did they think they overworked him too much? I don't know what happened. Maybe they did. But I don't think so, because he threw a complete game almost shutout the start before this. And then he just gets hit. 3.25 earned, and they just lose. Brett Myers throws a better game and outduels CC Sabathia in the hottest streak of his career. What ended up happening? Top of the first. They score. He has a lead. Ground out, double, steals third, 2 strikeouts. We're looking fine. Top of the second, they go down in order. And this is where it'll starts to unravel a little. Fly out. He gets an out. A double. Another double. A ground out. There's 2 outs. And then he walks 2 and gives up a bomb. That's it. That's all it was. That's literally all it was. 2 walks. Screwed him. He had 2 outs here. Jason Worth. But it's a tie game. Because he still had this. So this is a tie game. And he has 2 outs with a man on second. And then he loads the bases and gives up a grand slam. And then gets a strikeout. And then they pull him. He gets through the third. And he gets 2 outs in the fourth. And then he just walks a couple guys and they pull him. Because they're already down 5-1. And they're like, well, what's the point of any of this, I guess? But yeah, it's just that's one inning. And really, these couple of batters. I wonder what these at-bats went like. I don't think I have. It was a 3-2 count. Yeah. That's wild. Because if he gets out of this, if he just throws a strike there, that one pitch, everything changes. For all we know, they win this game. The grand slam never happens. Shane Victorino, what a dick. Not a fan. Former Red Sox too. Yikes. He doesn't walk Rollins because he's already out of the inning. The pitch count is fine. Maybe they score more. It's wild to think about. So I wanted to give CC a shout. I love that guy. I really do. Big fan. One of my favorite baseball players ever, probably. Low key. But it's true. I have a couple picks I want to share. I didn't write down the odds, but I have the teams here. Let me jot this down really quick. I know what they are based on looking at this, so you might not have perfect specifics, but if you want to get into it, we definitely can. I want to talk quickly about Kansas City and the Chargers. The spread is 3, as you can see here, and it will lead us into one of our picks. So we'll go right there, because Thursday Night Football... Now, here's the thing. Is there going to be more rash COVID stuff? I think Chris Jones is going to be out for Kansas City. Let me confirm that, but I think he's on the COVID list. Yeah. That's a challenge. I mean, Eckler's really good. Chris Jones in the middle. Their defense has started to really look better, and he's really important for them. So I don't know how that impacts them. And Chargers COVID, linebacker Willie Gay for the Chiefs also out. There's a lot of people that might not play in this one. I'm trying to see if the Chargers have any serious ones so far, but it's hard to know. And you're going to have to keep an eye on it through Thursday because we're recording this on Wednesday. All that aside, I do like Kansas City in this game. I don't like giving 3 on the road to a team in the Chargers that's feeling confident, but I know they can't stop the run, and I know their defense is vulnerable. And I know they've gotten a couple wins the past few weeks, but I also know that those wins could have been a little better. They did give up some backdoor stuff to the Giants, even though it was a blowout. The Giants are terrible. You can't really let Mike Glennon move it as much as he did. And that game against the Bengals we've talked about to death, that they could have, if Mixon doesn't fumble and it goes the other way, they could have blown that game. I can't trust them defensively, and I just don't think they have any home field advantage. There'll be more Chiefs fans there. So if the COVID things and the injuries don't break their way, we will find out. So I won't overexpose myself until I know. But I like Kansas City money line at roughly minus 150 because if it's a shootout, I trust the Kansas City offense. I think the Chargers can win, and they need the game. And if they win this, they can win the division because they will have swept Kansas City on the season. Both defenses have issues. I actually think Kansas City's defense is better than the Chargers, which isn't saying a lot because you've heard me rip on Kansas City's defense a ton throughout the year, and I still stand by that, especially if Chris Jones is out. So the over is a good play here at 52, although it's a Thursday, so I don't know. But I just can't. I got to see the Chargers win this game before I trust them, just because they have no home field advantage. Like, you can't play the game of, oh, well, if it's in Kansas City, would this be -9? It's like, no, because the Chargers have legitimately 0 home field advantage to me. I don't even think they get a point. Even if you call it 1 point, that would mean on a neutral field, this is... It's hard to even really say because you don't know what they're doing. But I view this as a neutral field, pretty much. So on a neutral field, which I think this pretty much is it Kansas City -3? Probably. And is it Kansas City -5 or 6 at home? Probably. Might even be 7. So that checks out. I don't think the spread is wrong. I think it's a little weird to get the Chargers, who are a playoff team, at home plus a field goal. But when you look at their defense, I just can't buy it. And I can't take a team against the Chiefs that doesn't play defense, really. So I like the Chargers. I root for them, and I think Eckler could have a big day if Chris Jones is out. And I think Edwards-Helaire could have a big day on the ground. This could be a lot more running than we think, so maybe I wouldn't take the over because it could end up being a lot of long drives, which is weird because they're both quick strike offenses too. Like, they can go deep. It's going to be an exciting, awesome game to watch. I'm just making a pick because for pool purposes, everybody needs to, and we won't do the show till Friday. We will do football for Friday and make all the picks and the breakdowns like we always do. Check out the YouTube videos if you have missed any of them. We give some gold, and we swept last week, so I'm looking to stay hot. I'm not going to overexpose myself on this game. I'm just going to watch it and enjoy it and see what I take from it and learn to judge both these teams, especially with all the COVID stuff. It's a little wonky, but if you want to throw something in there and have a little fun, I probably will. Kansas City moneyline is my pick. And I just see more opportunities where maybe the Chargers pull it out late in a shootout, but I see a world where Kansas City wins any game by 14. And I don't really see a world where the Chargers win by 14, unless Herbert just uncorks some bombs and they get some turnovers or something. And is Derwin James playing in this one? Like, that's really important, too. Questionable. I mean, we'll have to see. It's hard doing this on Wednesday because it's so early in the week. So check the Twitter at MikeTheMush Sports. I will update that as we go towards the game, and I'm sure I'll be tweeting during the game and all that kind of stuff. So check back in. For now, I do like Chiefs money line, especially more than Chiefs -3. And then I did take a basketball parlay tonight as well. Let me pull that up quickly. I like Cleveland. I've been big on Cleveland. I'm a Cleveland guy now. I love the Cavs, and I've hated the Rockets forever. I don't care how many wins they get in a row. I'm taking the Cavs, and I'm parlaying that with the Sixers tonight. This is a little dicey, too. We don't know if Embiid will play yet. Looks like a game-time decision. He went through shoot-around. I think he will play, so I'm comfortable. And I'm fading Miami like I have been because without Jimmy Butler and Bam, I can't trust that team. And at least Philly has a bunch of good players. And Miami has Kyle Lowry and Hero, and they're okay. But Philly at home should take care of business in that game against a really banged up Miami team that's just trying to limp through this weird part of the season and get their guys back. So I have that as a parlay at roughly minus 150 odds or something like that. You'll have to see where you get it based on what time you do it. And then I also threw in a 3-teamer, those two plus the Hawks, which gets you plus 120-ish odds. And the Hawks are playing the Magic. I haven't trusted the Hawks that much, but I really don't think the Magic are very good. And the Magic have 2 wins against the Knicks. I mean, they only have 3 wins otherwise. If the Hawks can't win this game, it should be a high-scoring game. They'll make you sweat, but they should be better scoring down the stretch. So I'm throwing that one in if you want a 3-teamer. So those are the picks. If you're interested in them, follow them. We will talk about them to start the show on Friday, where we will do a full football Friday, plus any notes that happen between now and then. We'll see what happens with all the COVID nonsense, and we'll see where we stand. I'm happy you joined me for Curry, for COVID, for CC, and for CC. Give me some likes, share, subscribe on the YouTube channel. It means a lot. It's very helpful. Tell people about it. Post about it if you want to. Follow on Twitch so you can join the chat and we can talk live and have some fun stuff with that. The schedule will be a little wonky moving forward, but I will keep you posted, especially as we go through the holidays. Happy holidays if you don't see me again before then. Otherwise, we'll see you Friday. Enjoy the night. Peace out.